Kia ora everybody and welcome to my reverse review of the All Blacks 2019 campaign, where we saw the All Blacks travel over to Buenos Aires, Argentina to play the Pumas, and what a game it turned out to be. A little bit closer than probably most people anticipated, and thankfully for the All Blacks we got over the line just. So let's break it down. So the scoreline was 20-16 to the All Blacks, one of the closest games we have had against Argentina in quite some time now. The Pumas have never beaten the All Blacks, but have drawn on one occasion, I think, back in the 80s. So it was good to see Argentina really test us for our first game of the year. The All Blacks scored 2 tries to 1, 2 tries to Nangi Laumape, and a great 40-metre intercept runaway by Brodie Retallick to end the first half on a high note, going into halftime with a 29 lead. And look, the All Blacks did look rusty, we're not going to lie about that. It was their first game of the year. We had a huge bulk of players from the Crusaders still back in New Zealand resting, and Argentina had basically a full-strength squad. So it was always going to be a tough challenge for our boys. And look, at the end of the day, we did get the win. And yes, it wasn't the best win or the cleanest win, but we were happy with the performance to start off the year. To start off, I'm going to say congratulations to the 4 debutants that we had. We had Sevu Reece, what a story he has produced. He started on the wing, and then we had Atu Mole on the bench coming off for his first test after a horrendous leg injury that he suffered last year. We also had Braden Ennell make his debut, and Waikato-born Luke Jacobson off the bench. Josh Ioane was on the bench, but unfortunately for him, never got a chance to come on. Will definitely get a chance later in the year, though. So let's get into some stats. And so 2 tries to 1, as I said. The All Blacks had 443 metres and only 113 carries, which is pretty bloody good if you ask me, which is just under 4 metres per carry. Where if you look at Argentina, they had 305 metres and 127 carries, which is only 2.5 metres per carry. So the All Blacks were getting more over the advantage line than Argentina. New Zealand also missed very minimal tackles. With about 5 minutes to go, they had only missed 3 tackles in the whole game, which I think is a huge attribute to our defence and our body on the line, especially against a very physical Argentinian team. The All Blacks managed to beat 38 defenders and had 11 clean breaks, but conceded 25 turnovers, which is quite high for an All Blacks team. Argentina only beat 9 defenders compared to the All Blacks 38 and only made 4 clean breaks, which yet again shows how dominant the All Blacks defence was on Sunday morning. And they only conceded 16 turnovers, which is still quite high, but a lot less than the All Blacks. So credit to Argentina for retaining the ball well when they had the ball, but you cannot look past how great their All Blacks defence was. And to only let in 1 try against a very composed and well gelled together Argentinian team, I thought was absolutely superb. One issue for the All Blacks, though, was the lineouts. They did lose 3 lineouts, which isn't that high, but unfortunately, Liam Coltman lost 2 at the death in an imperial stage in the game where Argentina could have capitalised. Liam Coltman, I think, is a fantastic player. He's awesome for the Highlanders. Just had a rusty game when he came on. Argentina missed 38 tackles, which is huge compared to the All Blacks. The All Blacks 6, 38 missed tackles compared to 6, and that's where you see how many line breaks and how many defenders beaten the All Blacks had. Now, that's not saying that the Argentinian defence was weak, but I definitely credit that to some amazing attacking play by the likes of Nangi Laumape, Beauden Barrett, Sevu Reece when he had ball in hand, and Argentina obviously work on there. This is a game that they really could have won, and I don't think they will get a better chance to beat the All Blacks than they did the other morning. Unfortunately for Argentina, most of their players were just off the Super Rugby Jaguares campaign, and you saw we rested the bulk of our Crusaders who had just played that finals campaign, where for all the Jaguares players, they got rushed straight into international rugby, and that's probably where the downfall was, a lot of fatigue in the Argentinian team. However, they kept high heads and they fought for the full 80 minutes, and you cannot they cannot afford to drop their heads after what was a pretty awesome performance. Yes, there are work-ons as there are for both teams, but Argentina should keep their heads high for the game against Australia next week. So a couple of standout players for me in this All Blacks team. I thought Brodie Retallick had a very good game. He played the full 80 minutes, made 6 tackles, but made 65 metres off only 7 runs and scored a superb runaway try. His lineouts were really good. He was a real pest at the breakdown, and every time he had the ball looked solid. And with Sam Whitelock and Scott Barrett both being absent, I thought he really stepped up and took charge of that type 5 role. So good on Brodie Retallick. Nungi Laumape is a man under pressure who's sort of looking on the outs of the Rugby World Cup team, but is hoping to push his way back in, and I thought he had a great start to the year. Played 80 minutes and made 12 from 12 tackles, which is imperial from your second 5'8". 10 runs for 72 metres and a barnstorming try set up by a sneaky Aaron Smith tap. So a great game from Nungi Laumape. Yes, he can do better, and I really hope he gets the start against the Springboks next week. Ben Smith is getting a little bit of some negative reviews in the media, but to be honest, look, he played the full 80 minutes. He only made 1 tackle because that's all he was required to make. 13 runs for 66 metres. Still had 3 offloads. Wasn't bad under the high ball. And look, he hasn't played rugby in... But if you take away that 1 quarter final, he hadn't played rugby in about 2 or 3 months. So, look, he's still trying to get back into the game. And for that alone, I thought he played pretty good. So credit to Ben Smith there. Sam Cane, I thought, was an awesome player as well the other morning. 80 minutes as well, made 11 from 14 tackles, which was very solid. Got a few turnovers and just cleaned out really well. If you watch the game very closely in the forward pack, you'll always see him in the rucks. Cleaned out a ton of players, and every time he carried with the ball, he carried very strong. Great captain in his 3rd game as captain, and I thought he had an amazing game. So good on you, Sam Cane. Big things to come in the future. And yeah, from our debutants, look, Sevu Reece got shut down, which I think was very good from the Pumas. They needed to shut down him because they would have seen through Super Rugby how amazing he is when he's in space. His kicking game has really developed well. He's got more pace than anyone else on the park, and he pulled off an amazing try-saving tackle early in the first half. So I thought Sevu Reece had a great game. Braden Enoa only got a few minutes to work with, got a pretty good run. You know, more game time and we'll see more of him. Luke Jacobson, solid again, did what he needed to do. Atu Moli came on, scrummed well, defended well, and as I said, Josh Ioane didn't get a chance to get on, but definitely will in the weeks to come. So all in all, I think the All Blacks had, look, it was by far not their best game, but for their first game this year, it wasn't bad. They got the W, and they will be leaving Argentina with their heads held high. Going into next week, it will be a much tougher game against the Springboks, and there will be a lot of selection headaches for the All Blacks team. My team for next week will probably be Moody, Coles, Franks, with Retallick and Whitelock in the locking. 6 is hard because Vai Fafita had a very under par game the other weekend. Maybe they'll give Shannon Frizzell a crack, or maybe they'll even start Luke Jacobson and really test him out. I would like to see Sam Cane at 7, Kieran Reid at 8, Aaron Smith 9, Bowden 10, Nungi and Leonard Brown in the midfield, and then our back 3, I would prefer to see Ben Smith fullback, Rieko Ioane one wing, and George Bridge on the other wing. The bench you can play around with, hopefully the comeback of Cody Taylor would be nice, and then definitely Karl Tuinukuafe, and then you can toy around with your Nepo Laulala or your Atu Moli, whoever else you want. In the locking system, probably I'd love to see Jackson Himmelpour have another crack off the bench, and then Ardie Savia come off in the loose forwards, Perenara halfback, Richie Mo'unga first 5, and 23 your utility. Could go anywhere. You could have Good Hugh, you could have Barrett, you could have Enoa Reece, endless. So whoever the All Blacks pick, I've got the utmost confidence that they will provide next week against South Africa in what will be a huge game leading up to the Rugby World Cup later this year. So that is my review of the game. Hope to see the All Blacks play a bit better, and I am ready for an absolute challenge against a Springbok team who has got energy, confidence, and coming off an awesome win against Australia last weekend. So all the best for next week. Hope everyone watches the game, and thank you for listening.